Shalom. All praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Verse 4. A time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. Verse 8. A time to love, and a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace. In the news from the RT, largest ever NATO air drill underway. Some 10,000 service members, and 250 aircraft are involved in the exercise this June. NATO embarked on the largest Air Force exercises in the alliance's history on Monday, amid heightened tensions with Russia over the Ukraine conflict. According to Berlin's military, the drills, which have been dubbed Air Defender 23, are being hosted by Germany, will play out mostly in the nation's airspace between June the 12th and the 23rd, with some operations taking place in the Netherlands and the Czech Republic. The mass exercises will involve some 10,000 service members and 250 aircraft, with 100 planes fielded by the U.S. alone. Apart from the U.S., the operation would be attended by 24 other nations, including not only NATO members, but also Sweden and Japan. The focus of the exercises is to optimize and expand cooperation between participating countries, with plans to model a NATO Article 5 assistance scenario. So they're obviously preparing for a particular scenario. Leave it up to Esau, Edom. They'll always devise some form or kind of evil plan / plot, because they have different agendas, with the chief of their agenda being to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And that mark is the RFID microchip, also known as the NFC chip implant in Europe, also known as the biochip implant, and also known as the brain chip implant, which is the mark of the beast. Okay, that is their chief agenda, which is a part of biblical prophecy. Now, reading on, it says the latter clause, which lies at the heart of the U.S.-led bloc, stipulates that an attack on one member of the alliance would constitute an attack on all of them. Now, remember, according to prophecy written of in the book of Daniel, the second chapter concerning the 10 toes, eventually they're going to all break apart. That is to say that America's allies will betray America, Babylon the Great. As it is written in the book of Obadiah, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. That is the men of her confederacy. A confederacy is an agreement or a covenant between two parties or more. And so all the men of America's confederacy, which are America's allies, are going to betray America, Babylon the Great. They're going to break away from America, Babylon the Great. And this has already began gradually happening, i.e. Brexit, Britain's exit out of the EU. There's also been talks of Frexit, that is France's exit out of the EU. And remember, according to Revelation, the 17th chapter, they shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. That they are the allies of America, Babylon the Great, that are a part of NATO and the EU. They who perform traffic, which is trade with America. It reads on to say, U.S. Ambassador to Germany, Amy Gutmann, said that she would be pretty surprised if any world leader was not taking note of what this shows in terms of the spirit of this alliance, which is led by the U.S. Adding that this included Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to Germany's Bundeswehr, the drills, which are meant to last up to 4 hours a day, will result in several air zones being restricted to military use at specific times of the day, possibly causing certain air traffic disruptions. So basically what the Lord is doing here is that he's mustering the host of the battle. He's putting it into the hearts of the leaders of these different nations to prepare for war. And that war, according to biblical prophecy written of in the book of Revelation chapter 11 verse 14, will be the third world's woe. A war that will be fought, according to Isaiah chapter 9 verse 5, with burning and fuel of fire. And it will be fought, according to the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh Shaphat in the Hebrew, which is located in the Arabian Peninsula, in the Middle East. And the leading cause of this war will be the least of the flock, which is the state of Israel, according to the book of Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, drawing America, which is Babylon the Great, out into the Middle East, because Israel will attack Iran eventually, thus causing Iran to retaliate, and thus causing America to be drawn out by reason of Israel attacking Iran and becoming a guard unto the state of Israel. And when that happens, according to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, Russia will then become a guard unto Iran. And that will be the focal cause or the leading cause of the third world's woe. So the Lord is basically just preparing these different nations by having their troops run all these different military drills, okay, for the third world's woe, which cometh quickly. And it will come after the mark of the beast has been mandated globally. And this is all according to biblical prophecy. It's not our own opinions or nothing like that. Scripture says, let the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, be true, because the Lord is not a man that he should lie. It reads on to say, while German authorities insisted that they would try to minimize the impact of Air Defender 23 on the population. Matthias Maas, the head of German Air Traffic Controllers Union GDF, warned that the exercises could have massive effects on the operation of civilian aviation. So, in other words, expect disruptions, delays, bottlenecks. Speaking to the TV station ZDF, the German Air Force Chief Ingo Gerhardt said that the exercises were first conceived in 2018 as part of NATO's response to Russia's actions in the Crimea Peninsula, which overwhelmingly voted to join the country in 2014 after a Western Bloc, backed coup in Kyiv. At the same time, the general insisted that the exercises were not targeted to anyone. And this concludes the article. In other news, also from the RT, concerning war, global powers ramping up nuclear arsenals. Now, before we read this, let's get the book of Joel. The 3rd chapter. The 9th verse, it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up." So, all the men of war are being prepared because we are in a season of war, according to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, the 8th verse. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Draw near where? Near the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is located again in the Arabian Peninsula, in the Middle East. Let them come up. Now we can read the article, and then come back and read the 10th verse. The number of stored warheads ready for potential use has increased by 86 since 2022, new research has claimed. Nuclear powers are actively modernizing and expanding their arsenals amid rising geopolitical tensions, according to a report by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, or SIPRI, released on Monday. Now, why are these nuclear powers actively modernizing and expanding their arsenals? Because we are in a season of war. The Lord is waking up the mighty men, getting all the men of war ready to draw near to the valley of Jehoshaphat in preparation for the Thoros woe, which cometh quickly, according to Revelation chapter 11, verse 14. So these nations have been doing what? Joel chapter 3, verse 10, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears." So these nations have been taking their economic wealth, which is a metaphor for the plowshares and pruning hooks, which are instruments of agriculture, and beating them, turning them into swords and spears, instruments of cruelty, which is a metaphor for weapons of mass destruction, primarily nuclear weapons. So these nations have been taking their economic wealth and using them towards research, development, enhancements, / optimization of weapons of mass destruction, primarily for nuclear missiles. Let the weak say, weak nations such as Iran, North Korea. Recently, Iran created a hypersonic missile called the Fatah, which means the conqueror. The word hypersonic means exceeding sound. Hyper means exceeding, and sonic means sound. So these nations are now saying that I am strong. They're now boasting because now they possess certain capabilities that they hadn't prior. It says a think tank estimated that as of January 2023, Russia, the US and UK, France, China, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel had a total of 12,512 warheads, with 9,576 stored in military stockpiles for potential use, an increase of 86 from 1 year previously. The report also claimed that as of January, Russia and the US, which between them possesses almost 90% of the world's nuclear weapons, had 1,674 and 1,770 deployed warheads, respectively. Last year, Russia had approximately 1,588 warheads, while the US had 1,744, according to SIPRI. The think tank noted that the sizes of their respective nuclear arsenals seem to have remained relatively stable in 2022. Although transparency regarding nuclear forces declined in both countries following the outbreak of hostilities in Ukraine. Over the course of the year, China's nuclear arsenal grew from 350 warheads to 410, SIPRI estimated, adding that by the end of the decade, Beijing could potentially have at least as many intercontinental ballistic missiles as either the USA or Russia. Elsewhere, the UK is not thought to have increased its arsenal in 2022, although its number of warheads is expected to grow in the years to come. Meanwhile, France has continued its nuclear development program, while India and Pakistan appear to be expanding their nuclear arsenals, the report said. North Korea is said to be prioritizing its nuclear program and is estimated to have assembled some 30 warheads. Israel, which has not publicly admitted to possessing nuclear weapons, is also believed to be modernizing its nuclear arsenal, SIPRI added. A think tank also pointed to the erosion of global arms control architecture amid the Ukraine conflict, noting Washington's decision to freeze strategic stability dialogue with Russia and Moscow's suspension of the 2010 New START Treaty, which places limits on US and Russian nuclear arsenals. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the move in February, pointing to the refusal of Western powers to permit inspections of their nuclear facilities. He confirmed, however, that Moscow will continue to abide by the deal's limits on deployed warheads. And this concludes your article. So I will end the lesson here. Abaradasai, this has been another in the news, and it has been edifying and informative. Shalom to the elect.